Hey, I'm ChiChi Anyanwu. I am the founder of Chi Talent Management. I am a talent manager based in New York, and I represent actors, writers, and directors in the entertainment industry. And my role is to help pitch them for work and find them employment in entertainment.
Hello, hello, hello. All right, so I just have to say, my interns are the best people in the world because my interns find the most amazing people out there. I go, or they set me up at conferences and I see people and I'm like, I just need to have them. I need to have a conversation with you. I need to have a conversation with you on this platform because I would have never ever met you at all. So I am so happy that you said yes because you have a huge. I'm a smiler. You're a smiler. Yes, love it. So this is going to be. I will at least I hope this is going to be fun. But already I'm feeling like it's going to be fun. I always tell people, in order to understand the business, we have to understand the person. And so, who is ChiChi before education and before your business?
I am someone who is about the community, specifically the Black community. So I am just someone who, wherever I go, I try to create family. I come from a big family. My parents are Nigerian. I was born here. And when I was younger, they just really instilled in me the importance of how it takes a village to raise everybody. So I was raised by my grandma, my aunties, my uncles. Everybody had probably laid their hand on me at one point because I was a bad child. But yeah, everybody raised me. Everyone had their hands of raising me. So as the thing that I would say that actually drew me to the entertainment industry, because it did kind of feel like it was a family, even though it's a bit of a dysfunctional family, it felt like there was a very interesting sense of community. So I'm just someone who does try to create that family feel wherever I go. Yeah.
Does
So
your family? Yeah. I'm so sorry. I was going to say, when you're saying that everyone is part of the family, were they entrepreneurs? Were they business people? I'm like, I go, what was it? I mean, like the family community and giving back is one thing, but I go, you're a businesswoman. And so where did that come from?
Honestly, I have no idea where it comes from, to be quite honest, because my family, there are a lot of professionals. Like I have a lot of, like my dad is retired, but he's an engineer. My mom is a nurse. And then most of the people in my family are either kind of like nurses, professors. Honestly, I can't really think of an entrepreneur. I think I have one cousin that's an entrepreneur, but that's about it. Like entrepreneurship does not run in my family. Folks like the comfort of having their 401k and having their salary, and education definitely was always instilled in us in terms of like go to school, get a good job. There was nothing about like work for yourself. That was never told to me. So even as I moved on this entrepreneur journey, it was just like, oh, I wish I had maybe a mentor, someone to kind of, guide me in this road. But I just had to figure out things for myself eventually. Yeah.
What did you go to school for?
I went to school. I started off as a theater major. I thought I was going to be an actress at one point, but after I think it was my first year, I just kind of had like one of those like Oprah aha moments of like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Like I like the art of acting, but like as a profession, I just I get bored easily. I started to not be fun to me, started to not be exciting and interesting. So I changed my major actually to communications because I thought, like you mentioned me having a news voice. I'm like, oh, I thought I was gonna be an anchor somewhere on like the 10 o'clock news. So I thought I was gonna go into journalism at one point. So I changed to communications and I minored in theater. It wasn't until maybe my senior year that I just thought about, oh, I really love, I discovered Black theater in college. I suburbs in a dominantly white area. But when I came to college, I interned for a Black theater company in Pittsburgh, and I was blown away. So I actually thought, oh, maybe I'll work in the theater in some sort. I love the idea of producing. I used to do a lot of casting. When I was in college, I would cast some of the performances for the Black theater company. I would do the marketing. I was kind of like a Jill of all trades. My hands were everywhere in terms of like helping to run this theater as an intern. So when I graduated, I was trying to figure out, okay, let me still just, figure out what I want to do. Let me apply for different internships. So I got an internship at the McCarter Theater in Princeton, New Jersey. So that was like my first introduction in terms of like, oh, what's it like to work at a big regional house and like, how do they run things? Because when I was in Pittsburgh, it was kind of like a smaller theater that like, they didn't really have a lot of resources and everyone was kind of doing everything. Like the same person that was acting was also putting together sets. But McCarter Theater was a huge regional with a great budget. So they really oh, this is how, you know, theaters are actually run in America. So I interned with them for about 9 months. I interned actually in the casting department. So I was a casting intern, but they actually gave me a lot of responsibilities as a casting director. I got a chance to actually cast for all the educational theater. I also, because I'm a bit of a hustler, in the evenings, I would bartend at the theater. I also would work as an assistant house manager. I was an usher. I was the girl that like, ChiChi, you still at the theater? I would be at the theater all day, just hustling, you know? But the beautiful thing about that experience, I'm like, oh, I learned the inner workings of what it takes to run a theater company because I did everything. You know, I didn't sleep a lot, but, you know, we made it work.
Wait, do they ask you to do these things or did you just pick them up? I just like, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this.
I just volunteer. And also it was a good way to also make extra money because as an intern, we weren't really getting, we had like a weekly stipend, but it wasn't really a lot of money. So it was a good way for me to also make money. Interning. Yeah.
What was it about the theater? I mean, like you could have gone into like, I mean, like you could have done things in movie theaters versus a theater. I mean, when I was younger, did the thespian thing. It's like, it literally was one of the, I'm first generation Haitian. It definitely improved my English. What was that? I mean, the theater for me was so intimidating on so many different levels. And when you're thinking about like, okay, oh wait, I can re-record this and re-record this and re-record this. And theater, you're like, nope, one time. You have 3 different practices. Here you are, here's the audience. And you know right now the audience hates your guts. You know it right now. I mean, it's not even just the, oh my God, the newspapers are coming out or the reviews. The reviews were nothing. The audience told you right then and there. But what was it for you that you were there for quite some time? And it was like, you took so many different roles in it. You could have been behind the scenes, in front, I mean, on the stage, off the stage. What was it for you that really gravitated you towards theater? Because I feel like theater led you to what you're doing, but I wanted to hear, how did it, like, walk me through it.
Yeah, there's something about theater. I don't know, theater is it's just a magical experience. It's a magical community. And I used to be very shy growing up. Like I still keep in contact with some of my high school teachers, and they just made a comment like, ChiChi, you never would participate. You used to like never talk. And there's something about theater that I finally was able to come out of my shell and actually learn how to speak and express myself through theater. And even just the people, there's something also about the theater. Like, I'm not sure if you hung around a lot of theater people, everyone just has such an excitement for life. There's just so much enthusiasm. There's so much joy. And it is a different vibe. Like when I am hanging around with my friends who are like non-industry related, this is sad to say, but sometimes I feel like a lot of them are very miserable. I can't find, like, I'm just like, do you guys like what you're doing? Like, I know that you're a doctor, like, is anybody happy? But there's just so much joy and passion with the theater community and people who really love what they're doing. So I've just kind of always gravitated towards that energy, you know? And again, it's kind of like that, you feel like you're part of this whole like tribe, like a family, you know? I just love that kind of like warm, because even when I did do acting, when I did my first play, it's just like a whole nother energy when you get a chance to bond with people for like 2 months and you see the same people every day and like everyone gets to know each other. And it's just a great energy, a great vibe. So I gravitate towards that. Yeah.
I have to say there's only 3 places in my life that I can think of that the way that you're describing. Theater, I'm a runner, so theater, running, ego, and the hiking. If you're a hiker, if you're doing the AT trail or something like that, hikers take care of each other. They want to check to see where you are. They're gonna know if someone's missing. They're gonna know very quickly. Runners, I'm telling you, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, and dog people. Dog people. I go, I see your dog well before I see you, but I mean, if you have a dog, if the dog is being treated, if the dog approaches me, I'm like, oh, you're a good owner. I like that.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's so weird. I put you a dog person before I put a person with a parent, which is kind of weird. But yes, those are my 4 categories of people that are just like good community of people. All right. So from where you are now, wow, you're in college, you're in theater. How does it evolve to where you are now?
Well, when I was doing casting, the folks that I would be on the phone with were agents and managers. And I don't know, I just remember having some of the most like incredible conversations. And I just love the passion when agents would like pitch their clients. And I remember thinking, I was like, hold on for a second. I feel like I kind of want to see what they do because I love talking to them on the phone. I love the passion. I love how they're really like cheerleaders for their clients. So after I worked a little bit in I worked as a casting intern, I worked as an assistant. It just got to a point, I'm just like, you know what? Let me see what else is out there. Like casting was a great experience too. I got a chance to learn about the industry. But I did it was like a temporary assistant for a small boutique talent agency in New York. Yep. And I loved it. I loved the idea of like, I would, get to know the clients. I would begin to pitch them. I would submit them for auditions. And I love when you actually get a chance to tell a client that like they booked the job. And I worked for a woman that like, she gave me a lot of responsibility. Like I was an assistant, like my first day I was like submitting people. I'm like, oh, I don't even know these actors, but you're having me submit them, So, cause she also just figured like I have a good eye because I worked in casting. So I just kind of knew how the industry worked. So I worked there.
Did you?
That's a good question. Kind of, sort of, but not really. Like kind of, sort like I will say when I was coming up, I was good at faking the funk. Like even when I was an intern, I was a terrible intern. Like I was just like, I'm not the best with the admin section of I'm just like, I'm a people person. Like I can talk to anyone on the phone. I'm good with connecting with human beings. In terms of like the paperwork, I'm just like, yeah, that's not the best thing for me in terms of paperwork. So I remember being like a terrible intern, but people liked my energy and they liked my personality. So I actually got a lot of gigs because of my personality as opposed to like me actually being good at the admin part of the job. So I will say personality is everything in this industry. So it'll get you very far, even if you don't know what you're doing or you fake that you know what you're doing. So I think I was good at faking the funk. But I was still learning, I feel like in general, even now, like as an entrepreneur, like I'm still learning about entrepreneurship. But in terms of like that transition from me working at the agency, because it was a temporary job, and because I realized that like, oh, agents have a lot of clients. Like the woman that I work with had maybe 100+ clients. I'm just like, I kind of like the idea of actually having maybe like a smaller group of folks, actors that I work with, and really getting to know them, really getting a chance to nurture and develop them, and not just having it be about just pitching them, sending them auditions and negotiating contracts. I really want to take time to get to know folks, because it was hard for me to actually get a chance to know people because there were so many clients. So after that experience, I found a job at a small boutique management company that also produced on Broadway. And that was kind of like my ideal job because I also wanted to learn about producing. At that time, I used to just, even when I was working in casting, I used to do events. I would like produce events and like, do like movie nights, or I would do like industry picnics. I love bringing people together. So I would like find an excuse to like do something to bring like the entertainment community together. So when I got this assistant job at this management company I also produced, I also like, oh, I want to learn more about producing. Even though she produced at the Broadway scale, I think I was able to pull some of those skills. And I eventually tried to, produce different like smaller play workshops on my own. So I produced probably like 3 play workshops over the 7 years I was with the company, because of the things that I learned in terms of like fundraising and reaching out to people and who are the folks with money and making sure you're, making contacts and checking in with folks. So that was definitely a good experience.
Well, I was gonna say you were running you became an entrepreneur. So you were like running the startup within the startup or the small business.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Did you actually like pitch that yourself to your boss, or did she say like, hey?
Well, here's the thing. I asked her to be an investor. So like, as I was doing fundraisers and like, hey, we're short, let's say $500. So she actually would help. She would actually donate money. Anything time I was doing like a small workshop, she would be an investor that would like donate a small chunk of money. Yeah.
Nice. Beautiful.
Yeah, so that definitely was helpful. So here's the thing, even though I was producing, there's something also kind of entrepreneurial about producing as well. Like you're helping to fundraise, you're helping to put events together. Like it is, sort of what I'm doing now in terms of, even when I started my company, the big thing that helped me launch my company was doing a fundraiser. I was able to fundraise on a site called I Fund Women. And I was able to raise at least, like my goal was to raise at least 1 year of expenses based on me getting like a virtual office, based on me paying for software and paying for lawyer fees. That was the goal. So I did a really great successful fundraising campaign there. And that kind of helped give me that security, at least I needed for my first year going into this. Yeah.
Why, I mean, you could have gone in any route. Why did you decide the company that you have right now? I mean, why is this so important?
Well, at the top of the pandemic, like end of February, I don't know. There's something that once everything shut down, once Broadway shut down, I'm just like, okay, my boss is not gonna be able to afford my salary. I kind of like saw it coming that like, let's see how long I'm gonna have my job before I get furloughed. Like I actually thought I was gonna get furloughed because I also was with the company for so long. I think it was like 8 years I was with this company. But unfortunately, she literally laid off me and like 2 other staff members that were full time. She's like, I just can't afford salary. And I even told her like, you know, let me know if you need me to like take a pay cut or furlough. But she's just like, she got to a point in her business that she just wasn't able to afford my salary in the long run anyway, even if theater did come back. And originally I was thinking about applying to other companies because, you know, I feel like we're kind of conditioned to think that like, we got to get that salary coming in. We got to get, you know, our health benefits and retirement. So I actually wasn't even thinking about being an entrepreneur. And it wasn't until I started interviewing that I'm just like, I don't know if I want to go through this again. There's something about working so hard. And it was honestly a bit of a traumatic experience in terms of me losing a job because I'm someone that's always had a job. Like I've always been a hustler. Even when I was working somewhere, I'd always had a second job. So me losing a job actually was a big deal because I actually never experienced what it's like to lose a job. I've always been working my entire life since I was 16 years old. So it was kind of like a rude awakening. Like, do I want to go through this again in terms of working so hard for someone to only have to only maybe be laid off because let's say money isn't coming in. So it kind of put that like fire under me to really think about like, what would it look like if I just worked for myself? You know, the reality is that like, there aren't a lot of talent managers in New York that have their own companies. There aren't even a lot of talent agencies that have their own company. So I think that's one thing that I think would set me apart from everyone else in the industry, being a woman, being a female of color, being a Black woman. I think that's something that I think the industry would be excited about. I think that's something that actors and people, especially if you're coming out of school, seeing someone who also you can relate to, that's not like over 55 and a white male. And, you know, it's just something in the industry that I think people would be excited about. So I really just sat down with my sister who's also in the entertainment industry, and we kind of put together a budget. We talked about what it would look like. We talked about also what would happen in those slow months when like I'm not making any money. So it's also about like, how do I also supplement income for the business and make income for the company while it's slow, while Broadway's shut down. So we just talked all that through. And I kind of went on a YouTube spiral and I looked up all these things in terms of how to start LLC, how to do this. And like, YouTube was my grad school, basically. It was my free grad school. I just looked up things because I don't know what it's like to run a business. So all the questions I had, I just kind of looked it up on YouTube. I looked up to see if there are any like free classes about entrepreneurship or launching a company. I looked up how to write a business proposal. So everything that I wasn't sure about, I kind of just looked up and tried to figure out what other people did. I set meetings with other folks who had smaller boutique management companies that were like maybe run by one person. So I sat down and did like virtual meetings with folks and just asked for people's advice, because it's really about also me growing and me also not being scared to like ask for help too. That was a big thing too. Like I get so nervous sometimes about asking for help. Like my parents are just very, you know, I'm not sure if you've been in contact with a lot of Nigerians. We're very proud people. No one wants to know if they're doing, you know, if they're not doing good. Sometimes
Haitians are the same way.
Seriously, I'm just like, we got to do better in terms of like asking for help, you know? And there's nothing shameful about like asking for help. Like, oh, I need more money or I need support for my business, you know? Like no one wants folks to, it's almost like people are ashamed of like, you know, letting people know they're just not doing okay, right? So I had to really like suck it up, not be worried about what other people think, and really ask for help and ask for resources. So that definitely something that helped me grow as an entrepreneur in terms of like reaching out for help. If I have questions, even I think before I had a question about a contract, I emailed some agent manager friends like, hey, I've never done this contract before. Can you help me with this? You know, things like that, like really tapping into your resources and asking for help is something that definitely has helped me during this time. Yeah.
Our stories are very similar in respects to 11 years ago when the world imploded the last time. I was sitting in my MBA class and the president of the school came out and said, you guys are, you don't know what's happening in this world right now. And by the way, you're overqualified. So this MBA is this is a bad idea. Because and you can't tell people that you have it. So you're gonna have to go live with your capstones. I'm like, my capstone was for a fake little grade. It was a fake company for a grade. And 11 years later, my company is my capstone. But one of the things I told a lot of people for me, which was hard, was an MBA helps you propel a company. It doesn't teach you how to start one. So asking people, Googling, and I mean, I am part of that. I am my father's child, where asking for help, It is the hardest thing in the world for me to do, to ask for help, and not because I can't do it. It's more so when your friends or people say they disappoint you. And just when an individual disappoints me, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because I would do anything for anyone. So that's one of those, for me, that's the part of not asking for help. You went and found your moment. Your moment, you come to Jesus, your aha, whatever it is. You found that time where you're like, okay, now I need to start asking for help. Your sister came on the ride with you. You designed this company. How do you get people to come to you? How have you been getting people to come to you? Because you're the package. You are that small boutique. You're not this big, huge, massive firm. You are a person that is very targeted to the Black community. You are there to make sure that they're succeeding. But how do we find you? And by the way, the theaters are closed. Music is starting to come in. Films are being done because now it's empty. The streets are empty. They can bring in their extras. They don't have to worry about all these extra people like behind the cameras. So how are you navigating your business, your brand new business? How are you navigating that during a pandemic, knowing that we're still waiting for Broadway and for so many things to open up?
Yeah, so a thing that I did that I never thought I would do, I think in July, when I knew that I officially wanted to launch it and tell folks and kind of like announce that I'm here, I hired a publicist, and I thought originally was like, these people it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to invest in a publicist. So, but I will say it's probably one of the best investments I made. The good thing about when I did this fundraising campaign, I put in a certain budget for publicity, because the reality is that like, no one's going to know about your company if you don't put yourself out there, right? So the publicists help get my press release out in all the major trades in terms of Variety, Hollywood Reporter, Playbill.com, Broadway World, anything that's like industry news that people read, they got my face out there. I got some interviews. And then she also helped me with my social media game, because social media is also another way that's kind of like free publicity, honestly. So if you can kind of like up your social media game, she made sure I put myself out there on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. So that was really the way that I helped let people know about my company. It's so interesting. After I started doing my official launch and getting my face out there, people literally came to me. Like I didn't really have to do a lot of reaching out. Like folks, producers, agents, people literally wanted to just do a general meeting with me and get to know me. And it was great. It was very overwhelming. I got a lot of emails. Even when I first started my company, I only had a few clients that followed me over from my previous company. But I started getting tons of submissions. Like, it's like, I forgot how many people want to be actors in America, but like, I was very overwhelmed by all the email. I got like hundreds of emails from actors, and I started recruiting talent and building my roster that way. And it was just great. It was great to see that like people were excited. People wanted me to represent them, or people wanted to work with me. So I took a lot of meetings with casting directors during that official launch, just so they could know like what I'm about, the kind of clients that I want to work with. I do focus on diverse talent. Most of my roster is African-American or people of color. That's just something that's always been a passion for me as a woman of color that doesn't really see as much representation as I would like in the industry. I wanted kind of to be part of that change that I wanted to see in the industry. So yeah, that was definitely a great time. Yeah.
I'm going to agree with you on the publicist. I just hired, my background is in media and PR people, and I've said this before, and I'm not afraid to say it. PR people are usually our barriers to the content. So like, you're in my content and there's always someone in between me, and it just drives me crazy because I want you. And it was throughout my career, it was just the annoyance for me where it's the #1 show in Boston. It's not hard to figure this out. Just come on. I recently just hired a team, and two things. #1, yes, it is a very large check that you give to them. It's a very large check, but it is well worth it when you find the right group. It is well worth it. But knowing that I worked in the media, I was a press secretary to a governor. I know what you do, so it made me feel better when I selected this group, because I know exactly what it takes to do the job, and I know it is a retainer. I'm not a big fan of retainers because I'm a project person, but the value with the right company is leaps and bounds. And I think that's a lot of people don't want to invest that money in themselves. Because I always say, you're not investing in the company, you're investing in yourself, because people are buying into ChiChi, not the company.
Exactly.
and just for them to know you and see you and how you can talk and walk and chew gum is on par. So that was like, I just had to say that. Oscars happened recently. All the awards, there was diversity in the theaters, in the movies. It's literally always there. And sometimes they just do years past checkbox, look, but it's not real. Commercials that you're seeing right now, which is like, it's comedy for me. When I was younger, I had posters, so I'm older than you, posters of United Colors of Benetton, because United Colors of Benetton does it right. So they got so frustrated with the United States because the United States was bashing them in regards of how diverse their campaigns were. They're like, we're leaving here, we're going to go other countries. They're all over the world. I love it when I go overseas. They're all over the world. They just can't deal with the US. All of a sudden, rewind 20, 30, 40 years, right? You see everyone trying to do diversity, but now where it was one commercial every 5 or every 20, you see a minority. Every commercial, now you see a minority person.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a good thing because it's the right now. So the question for you is, how long does it last? Because it's great right now. We're in the pandemic, George Floyd, all the things that are happening. But where is that point where we get to where is that point where it is happening naturally and not forced on the audience?
Yeah, and that's a thing too. I always tell, even with my clients I talk to, even though I am focused on diverse talent, I let them know that like, I'm also submitting you for things that make sense for you as a person and roles that you're excited about, and not have it be about, I don't want it to always be about race. Yes. Like, I know it's kind of weird to also say, like, I feel like technically in a way it's always about race sometimes in this country, but sometimes I also think about like, can it just be about the talent? You know, can it just be, you're just right for that role? Not that you just, oh, you check that box. So they really want an African-American. So you're gonna, you know, but I really want to know that folks actually are connected to my clients because they're also good actors, as opposed to like, you got to get in someone who's Spanish and that person fills that slot. So I'm hoping it's not just kind of like this fad thing. I'm hoping it's just, let's just not think about, let's just literally cast the right folks for the role and make sure it represents America, because America is like, it's all different races, you know? Yeah. And I remember I have one young client, he's white. I felt for him because as he was meeting with agents, he just graduated from school. Yeah. He made a comment saying that an agent was saying that it's a really bad time to be a white actor right now. And I'm just like, are you serious right now? First off, the irony of that statement is that like, there's still actually more roles for white actors. Like, it doesn't matter how many people you, like, if you actually look at percentages, white actors get the most work regardless, or white actors have the most leading roles, right? But in terms of, because people are pushing diversity, in some agent's mind might be like, oh, I think I want to try to focus on people of color now, you know, as opposed to it being about the talent. And that kind of broke my heart a little bit too, because he's someone who's super talented, and to have someone who's, you know, fresh out of school, having an agent say, actually, it would be better if you were Black, or it would be better if you be of color. That's just like, I just don't want this moment to be about that, you know?
Well, and that's why I'm saying, where it's like, I go, when you're looking at the Oscars and stuff like that, and everyone's pushing. And then, I mean, literally, before I would have gotten excited when I saw diverse groups on commercials. Now I'm just annoyed. I mean, because it's every commercial, not every other. And I'm like, I go, you know what? I'm not telling you to sprinkle it in, but I'm telling you like where it should be where it should be so natural, like if I walked out my door. But honest to goodness, it's like, it's blatant where, okay. Yeah. Like, come on.
Even with the, you know, I was kind of had a controversial talk with my friend because she was really upset about the, I guess the Sharon Osbourne thing with the talk. But part of that situation, I was kind of upset because I'm just like, how come we can't have an honest conversation about race? There's a lot of people who think like Sharon, but we have to be able to dissect that and not just cancel people, because canceling her doesn't actually solve the problem. We still need to have those uncomfortable conversations and get to like the root and the heart of it. Like, I personally, nothing was solved by letting her go, because it's important to have people who have different viewpoints. It's also why I love watching The View. Like, people hate like Meghan McCain. Like, I love Meghan McCain. Yep. Because she actually represents a lot of how a lot of Americans think. You know, it might be controversial, but like, some people are not going to think the same way that you do, and that's actually okay. It doesn't. I don't think it necessarily makes them someone who's racist. Like, people have different viewpoints, but let's talk about, why do you think that way?
Well, you know what? It's not even that. It's just the fact that I cannot form articulate conversations with individuals if it's only in my head. So I need to be challenged. I may not like you. I may not like what came out of your mouth. I go, but I'm able to communicate with you on a higher level. And if you're canceling, I mean, again, I'm against the whole entire imposter syndrome and cancel culture. Can't stand those words, whatever's, toss them aside. because
Yeah.
someone's making a lot of money off of these words.
Yeah.
But it drives me nuts where if I'm like engaging with you, I was born into a Democratic family. I worked for a Republican governor. I go, and I'm an independent, so you have to set yourself on fire to get my vote. And so for me, when I walk into a situation, I'm going to engage. I'm going to poke the bear in every single direction.
Yeah.
And I go, and they're like, oh, you're attacking me. I'm like, you know what? If you're saying that to me, I'm already done talking to you, because you automatically is that you're flighting, you're not fighting. And I don't want you to be intimidated by you, but I want to have a vibrant conversation. That's why I love going overseas. Those kids of all ages, they can talk about anything around every other country. And I'm like, they don't fear the conversation. They don't fear it. And what happened to, where did we get to the point where we're afraid to talk? We're afraid to engage with people. We're checking boxes, or we're just doing what everyone else is doing because we don't want to get in trouble. And that's why I'm looking at the theater and TV and the commercials, and your industry gets to the point where it's harder for you, or it could be easier depending on the situation, where there are so many amazing, talented people in this world, and yet some of them may say, like, I'm going to quit my career because I'm not going to find a job. So what happens when that happens, where the gentleman, the white kid that you are dealing with, and he's super talented, what happens where he's talented and he keeps getting the no's, and does he quit? Because that's just could be a next George Clooney.
Yeah, honestly, with my job with him, especially with him, because I know he was really kind of defeated by that conversation too, is really to just lift him up, because I did kind of come from that era of like folks literally would like, I don't know, all kinds of crazy stuff people would tell me as I was an assistant or intern, because they would like try to break you down just to see how bad you wanted it. It's almost like it was like there's a weird hazing process that no one likes to talk about. Like assistants are yelled at, people have things thrown at them. It's a whole hazing process. And unfortunately, there are still people who are from that generation that like, they don't understand, like, you can't talk to people like that anymore. Even with what happened with even outside of Harvey Weinstein with Scott Rudin.
Yeah, the Me Too's.
We just can't be abused. Everyone's a human being. Like literally, like I know with me, like my people, like folks that work with me, my interns, assistants, I treat them how I want to be treated. There's no type of yelling. I will never yell. I don't even curse. That's not how I roll. So with that said, when folks are getting a lot of no's, it's like I'm there to encourage them. I also want to help them be better. Like I have one client who's been very close to a lot of auditions, but for whatever reason, she's not landing anything. So I just talked to her about like, let's just talk about coaches. I know you've been working with this coach, but something's not sticking. So maybe you might want to try somebody else to kind of just teach you some other techniques. Because it's not my job to be like, oh, you're doing a horrible job and you're not bringing, like, no, I really want to make sure that my clients are ready. So when the next big audition comes up, they're going to be prepared. So I help them find coaches, or I'll give them feedback too. Sometimes before they, we submit their auditions to cast directors, I'll just give them feedback and like maybe give them some notes and maybe rework some things with them. Because I just don't want to, because there's some people who just tear down actors or industry folks to begin. I just don't want to be part of that cycle, because I think it's a hard job to do. I respect a lot of actors. My sister's an actress. They go through a lot of rejection. So whatever I can do as a management to kind of help support folks, that's literally my role. Yeah.
So the world opens up, and theaters start opening up, and just everything starts opening up. Do we go back to the way it was, where the theater, the movie, orchestras, everything was doing very, very well? Or are we not going to see a uptick for quite some time? Like, what's your prediction of where does the entertainment field go from here?
Yeah, honestly, it does feel like it's going to be very slow. I don't think a lot of shows are going to open up right away. I know people are saying fall, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to be, every show's not going to be turning in the fall, unfortunately. Like I think a lot of shows are probably going to wait to open until 2022 just to be safe, because I'm realizing a lot of people are still not getting vaccinated. Like I wanted to even get my friends together for a picnic, and my friend's like, yeah, I think I'm going to wait. I'm just like, oh, what's the wait for? Just get vaccinated, people. What are y'all waiting for? I think people are just scared. There's so much media saying that like, the government's trying to poison us and all kinds of, conspiracy theories. And I'm just like, folks, just get vaccinated. We can get back, Are you vaccinated, by the way?
I've been vaccinated. Like migraine is my migraine of all proportions. But I was like, hey, I get to go see my mom. It's all good. We're fine. I love that people that are going online and saying the vaccination has microchips in it, and they're.
I was like, we watch a lot of sci-fi. When I think about like, oh, we watch a lot of sci-fi. There's a lot of crazy stories we've watched growing up that just kind of ingrained in our brain that like the government's trying.
That's why I don't watch those movies. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm afraid of scary movies anyway. I don't watch them, so I don't know about them. So it's all good.
I will say it was intimidating when I got my vaccine. It was like a lot of like Army Reserves folks because it was like one of the Army terminals. I'm just like, oh, it felt kind of strange, but like it is what it is. You know, I was like, huh.
Stop watching Will Smith's movies. Stop it.
Yeah, basically. So the industry, it's definitely gonna be different. The reality is that like the audience mainly for Broadway, it's our grandparents,
Yep.
And unfortunately, they're gonna have to be careful going to the theater now. So I think theater is also going to maybe be created a little bit more for a different audience, maybe a little bit of a younger audience, a more diverse audience. And I also feel like, the main thing about Broadway, which I always got annoyed by, is that how expensive it is. I honestly would only see shows if I could get like a rush ticket. I would get a discount. Like even when I graduated college, I held on to my student ID card for so long. I think I was using my student ID up until I was 30 years old because I'm just like, it's so expensive to see theater.
I have tried to go to see Hamilton. Well, I tried to go see Hamilton in so many different places.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, well, you can see it on Disney Channel. I go, I have it. And I swear there's a part of me that's like, no.
You gotta see it live.
I want to see it live. I want to see it live. So yeah, that just like makes me mad. I want to rewind a little bit. Your parents are like the business. It's all about the business. Okay.
Yeah.
You are an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You're shy.
Yeah.
I'm saying this because right now I'm not seeing shy at all, but okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you're shy. You're a business person. You started a business during the pandemic. What do your parents think now? Because I mean, look,
they were scared.
Okay, good. Okay.
They were like, can I just tell you, my mom, hopefully she didn't see this video, but she actually asked me to ask for my job back. I'm just like, Mom, it doesn't work like that. She can't afford. I'm like, well, just tell her. And this is like, after I told her I was gonna be an entrepreneur, she's told me that like, well, maybe you could still work for her and still do I'm like, that's just not how it works, Mom. Like, she was just so scared. My mom also like, she just feels everything. She has a big heart. She's very religious. And she just would talk about how she would like, pray for me. And she has her rosary and she would send me things and, send me prayers and like, it's beautiful too. Cause they come from extreme poverty. They grew up in, like, I remember going to Nigeria for the first time and this thing where my mom lived. I'm just like, it literally was almost like a shack. It was like literally almost like one room. She also has 9 siblings. So I'm just like, I can't even imagine having 9 people in this small space. And like, that's how they grew up. So they came from literally almost nothing. And when they came to America, they also came here for school. So they came here for school. My mom was able to make a life for herself. She met my dad in college.
Yep.
So it's one of those things like, they're kind of like the American dream in terms of coming from poverty to now living this like middle-class suburban life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think she wanted me or any of my other siblings to struggle at all because they struggled so much. And also they like, even when they came here, they talked about how it was also like, they were also like working full time as they were going to school full time. And then they just, they wanted a better life for their kids. So I think they saw the entrepreneurship as like that's not what we came for this country for you guys. We didn't come for this country for you guys to like be struggling and, not have a job, So it took them a while to really like get on the same page. I think it wasn't until they noticed like, oh, you have this campaign, like, oh, Uncle so-and-so, Auntie so-and-so's donating and they're congratulating. So it's almost like they got like a thumbs up from like family and friends. And like, sad to say, Nigerians are very much about bragging rights too. So it's also just like, my daughter had this, successful campaign. My daughter did this. Like, so now it's like bragging rights because I had this successful fundraising campaign. I also got this grant from American Express for Black entrepreneurs. I got a $25,000 grant, which was and they also, they do a lot of business workshops and mentorship. So it's like the 6-month mentorship as well with other Black entrepreneurs. So it was just, it's great for them to kind of like, now they like share on my links and like my daughter, the entrepreneur, my daughter, the New York Tech, like, so now they're like on board because like, they know that, oh, I'm finally, I guess, successful in their eyes. So like, because their main thing is very much like, they just want me to be happy and they want me to be successful, basically. They don't want me to feel like I'm unhappy or struggling, So I think they're getting a feel like, oh, she's gonna do okay. She's doing good, So it took a while.
That's a good piggyback to the next question. In regards to, there are a lot of people that are in your situation prior, like literally when you lost your job. So people that have lost their jobs, people that have been furloughed, people that got out of college. and they had a career set and they had a job set, and then the job was taken back from them. Individuals that are like, what am I doing? What am I doing? But I have an idea. I have an idea, and that idea really fuels my passion. But I'm afraid. I'm afraid to do it. So can you talk about the highs and the lows of starting your own company? Because you talked about why the company started, but you didn't talk about the highs and lows about it, other than asking for help.
Yeah, I think one of the lows about it is it's also just thinking about money. You know, people don't really talk to you about like, oh, you need a significant amount of money to get this started. Even when I opened up my LLC, I didn't know that there was a requirement in terms of you had to do like, I think it was like 6 weeks of in a print newspaper, and 6 weeks, like there's a whole thing when you're an LLC in New York, and that costs like $1,200. Or if you're getting your logo branded or you know, trademarked, that also costs a few grand as well. There's just so many things that I don't even think about. And even when I put my name out there, someone had reached out to me on social media saying that we had the same logo. And like, there's also random people who are going to also try to come for what you have, you know? So there's just so many things that like, that come up, especially with expenses. Like there's so many things like, oh, I have to pay for that. Oh, another thing I got to pay for. There's just so many things. Like even outside the budget that I made, there were like new expenses that were coming up that was like, whew, this is above my budget. So there was definitely a low when thinking about like the financial constraints too, because I will say, unfortunately, I'm not the best in terms of like money management. I wish I came from a family that was really good with money skills, but unfortunately, like everyone in my family is all about like putting everything on credit. So I didn't really actually learn how to properly like build credit. And I'm literally honestly now, like I have a financial advisor now, like I'm kind of playing catch up in terms of like really building my credit, really setting myself up for like retirement, because unfortunately I didn't really come from a family that like taught me those skills. So I kind of had to learn everything on my own. So even with as an entrepreneur, I wanted to make sure like, well, I don't have a 401k right now. So like, how do I make sure I have enough money so I can also establish some type of like strong retirement plan when I do retire from this business? So there's different things like that in terms of like making sure that I can take care, even with like, I lost my health insurance when I got laid off. So just make sure like, am I going to be able to afford health insurance, or what's a plan I can qualify now as someone who didn't really have a lot of money coming in? So just things like that. That's like kind of some of the low parts. It really was more about the financial aspect is the thing that I think I had the hardest, because I was a little bit comfortable before, and now it's like, oh, I'm not as comfortable as I was in terms of financially right now. So that was a little bit, you know, tricky getting towards. But you know, the good thing about now is that like you know, unemployment is a beautiful thing. I think I never would, who would have thought that I would ever be on unemployment? I was so used to having a job. So literally since I started my business, I literally have been collecting unemployment because I haven't really had a lot of money coming in, you know? So things like that, like not being ashamed to like, let me be on unemployment for a little bit, because I don't really have time as I'm building this business to work anywhere else. I'm literally putting all my hours into my business. So I wanted to make
sure. And by the
way,
there is no other, there is no other thing else.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, again, we're in a pandemic. There's no other thing else right at this moment.
Exactly. And I think the biggest thing in terms of like, and that's the thing too, the hardest thing I personally say in terms of being an entrepreneur was me like not living comfortably too, you know? It was kind of like, okay, I got to make sure I got to make rent. I also had student loans to pay off, and I had credit card bills. So it was also like that discomfort was the thing that was tricky for me, you know? And I kind of had to really like, as I say, kind of like getting comfortable in the discomfort, because I know that that payoff in the long run is going to be what's going to like, you know, make me the most fulfilled. If I'm actually just doing what I want to do and being passionate about my business, it's going to be a great payoff once things start rolling in and Broadway comes back and, you know, all my clients are successful, you know. But it's just it takes a lot of patience too, you know what I mean? Like before, I had a lot of people who were booking, who were on Broadway, there was always something coming in, but now it's kind of slowed down a bit. So just kind of being patient as I'm building, as I'm making money for the business. Yeah.
That was the low. What was the high?
I think one of the highs, honestly, was I guess when I had my first booking, because there's just something about, I don't know, there's something about having your first booking. It's like, it just kind of makes it all worth it. Like, okay, I do know what I'm doing. I do know what I'm doing. Like I am in the right direction. And it was the first, I think also I got a good booking. It was like within 3 months of my launch. And it was like a guest star, and a guest star on television is like, that's a great look. It's like a client who had like 3 scenes. She had scenes with like the leads in the show. It was a great paycheck for her. And it was just a great, like, okay, I can do it, you know, and it's like on to the next. And it also like, there was almost like a domino effect too. Like, okay, I got a guest star. A few weeks later, I had another client who booked a guest star. And a few weeks later, I had another client who booked something, you know? So when people also started booking, that's like when I started to be like, all right, we got this. Like my clients are going, we're ready to go, you know? So that's one of those joys, like anytime, like not only with the bookings, but I think even anytime someone gets like a big audition or a big callback, I get so excited because like, oh, when I pitch this client, it's great getting that positive feedback from a customer saying, oh, we want to bring in your client. You know, we looked at her materials. So I feel like I always like, I think every day, honestly, I have my highs because like, oh, I got all these great auditions that came in. I'm excited to see what my clients do, what they bring to it. So I think I get a lot of joy every single day from doing this.
During the pandemic, what's something new that you added to your life that you probably would have never done before if it wasn't for the pandemic?
I added in some workout equipment. I'm someone that, I don't know. Here's the thing. I used to be very active when I was younger. Like I used to do like sports and I used to do like those Zumba classes. And I used to be so active, but the older I get, like as soon as I turn like 33, I'm just like, I just stopped caring. I don't know what it is. I kind of stopped working.
You are so cute. You are sort of, once I turned 33, all right, so I just turned 52. And so needless to say,
like the crack. You better work.
And literally I get up and I'm still active. I mean, I'm energized bunny, no caffeine. This is just me. But things hurt now. They hurt.
Well, things hurt for me too. So I guess it's going downhill. I'm like, I just don't wake up the same way I used. I got all the cracks. I was doing jumping jacks. Like, why am my ankles are cracky? What the hell?
When your body, when you turn your neck, you're like,
but seriously,
what's that
you know,
noise?
It's different now. I honestly feel like even with me also being home more, so I'm not as active as I want. So I actually had to change my lifestyle. I have like a stationary bike. Yep. I bought some weights. I bought my yoga mat. So I actually really just changed my lifestyle. Now that unfortunately, I'm not necessarily going out as much as I used to because of the pandemic. So I'm doing a lot of activities at home. I'm trying to stay a little more fit because I would have gym memberships that I would go once in a blue moon. I would just be spending my money, not going to the gym, and you know. But now I really have like changed my lifestyle. I'm really doing better in terms of taking better care of myself. I've been changing my diet as well. So definitely my lifestyle has definitely changed for the better since this whole thing has happened. Because you know, health is like literally the most valuable thing right now because of everything that's happening with the pandemic. We have to, you know, I'm drinking my elderberry and my vitamins every day. Because we're just trying to be, you know.
I hear about elderberry all the time, and I think it's more so because I've never heard of it, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I go, and I'm afraid to take it. I'm just afraid.
Honestly, my mom sends it to me all the time, so I only drink it because my mom told me to drink it, so I guess it's good. I probably should do research about it, but like, well, my mom's a nurse. She wouldn't steer me in the wrong direction, so I'm just taking it because my mom's like, do elderberry, it's good. I'm like, okay. Let me check it out. I don't know if it's actually working, but I haven't been sick yet, so it's good.
Well, you look good. You look good. Yeah. So I'm thinking like I go, hey, you look good. Your hair looks good. Your teeth are nice and white. It's all good. So this is the first time I'm asking this question. I'm going to ask. This is I like literally as you were talking, I'm like, I'm going to start asking this question because like I only have 7 questions I've asked everyone consistently. And so this is going to be a new one. Yeah. We've all been home. We've all clearly we haven't gone out. We're not spending money like we used to. At the beginning, we were all on Amazon or ordering things online just for like that enjoyment. But when you get to go out, what's that first thing? What's that first big purchase that you're going to make, knowing that you have not spent a lot of money on you, but you've been focusing on the business, but that one big purchase that only can be made when you leave. You can't just buy it from home.
That is a good question. Big purchase. It's so funny. I think my here's the thing. I'm someone that like, I am a people person, but I will say during this time, it has really made me a bit of a hermit. So I think my big purchase actually will be like booking a trip somewhere. And I'm not sure where it's going to be. Like I'm researching now, but I just kind of want to get out of here because I've been inside so long. Even like a few friends would invite me out. I'd find some excuse not to go out, but it really has turned me almost antisocial since I've been here. So I think my big purchase honestly is going to be like, I'm going to go somewhere. I'm going to get out of the state and like hang out on the beach somewhere and just treat myself to a vacation somewhere. That'll probably be my first big purchase, I would say.
I think that's for a lot of people, the first big purchase is a trip. I feel that as well. All right. Yeah. I say this all the time because I really am. I mean, I'm a people person. I'm a chatty catty, but I'm always so surprised that an hour goes away. An hour goes like this. So I am going to ask you my last question. It's a double,
Yeah.
but I'm going because I get blown away. If you had a personal and a professional ask of anyone that's listening to you, what would it be? I ask this of everyone, no matter how many times I have you back on, I will always end it with this. Personal and professional ask, because we don't ask enough. And we talked about that a lot. So this is your time to ask personally and professionally of anyone that's listening to you.
I think a professional ask would be like, please hire my clients for all your projects, television, film, theater. They're available for hire. That is my professional ask. Hire my folks. Because as my clients do well, my company will do well, and I will do well. So yes, please help support ChiChi Talent Management. That's my professional ask. And then personal ask, here's the thing. I think right now, I don't know, that's a tricky one too. I feel like in terms of personal, I think I'm asking not only with my friends and family, people in general, I think I'm just asking for more patience during this time. Because there's something about, it's almost like, because people think that like, oh, because you're at home more, because maybe you have more time in your hands, people want you to respond right away to things, whether it's a phone call, whether it's email. So as a personal ask, I ask everyone just be patient, please. You know, no need to send 5 emails, 3 emails. We will get back to you soon. So just to be patient during this time and just have grace with people and know that like everyone's going through it, and you know, we'll eventually connect. So yeah. Patience. Yeah.
Yes, my friend. That was beautiful. ChiChi, thank you so very much for saying yes, for being you, for taking the risk and starting your business. And you know what, for supporting a lot of people that are in the arts, because literally I worry. I mean, I love the arts. I mean, I love everything about it. And I worry. I worry every single day about where do they go from now, and especially people that were at their peak. And then all of a sudden when it opens, will they still be the hot commodity? So thank you very much for representing so many people that just need you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is a great interview. It's so good to meet you. Hopefully we can see a play one day on Broadway.
You know what? So 90% of my relatives in the United States live in New York, and I was in New York 3 weeks ago. I saw on the news how the Met was empty. I'm like, I mean, I grew up at the Met. I mean, I was like, my cousins, like, we would come to Boston. Like in Boston, we weren't allowed to leave the house. In New York, they're like, see you, you're with your cousins, bye. My cousins had worked at the Met, and they're like, go play. I'm like, what? Well, we have to work for 4 hours, go play. Okay, running around. But there was always tourists. It was always wall-to-wall people. 200 people at max. I was like videotaping. I'm like, I will never, ever, unless I meet someone wealthy and we have like a date at the Met and we're the only ones there and they're on the board, I will never see the Met empty like this again. It was surreal. It was surreal. So I go to New York often because it's I don't care about driving 4 hours, but I will turn around and come back home because I'm gonna sleep in my bed. until it's safe, I'm coming home. But I mean,
let me know when you're in town. We gotta grab coffee and hopefully see a show. Whatever comes back.
That is an absolute. That's a date in itself. So thank you. And I go again. I will be bringing you back and having conversations with other people, because this is the fun part for me, where I can just say like, hey, talking about this topic, who wants to talk about it, and we just jump on and just talk.
Oh, cool. That sounds great.
Yeah. Cool. ChiChi, have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so very much.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.